You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. Bitcoin, Ether, Solana, Doge, and more. Cryptocurrencies and digital assets are taking the financial world by storm. This exploding market provides everything a savvy trader needs: volatility, volume, and liquidity, provided you know how to find it. That's where we come in. Welcome to the Crypto Rundown. Each week, we'll break down the latest trading activity, trends, and developments throughout the world's leading crypto derivatives markets. If it's moving the crypto markets, then you'll find it on the Crypto Rundown. The Crypto Rundown is brought to you by Amber Data. If you're entering the digital asset class, you'll need access to granular on-chain and market data from multiple venues to power research, trading, risk management, and compliance. Amber Data delivers comprehensive data and insights into blockchain networks, crypto markets, and decentralized finance, empowering financial institutions to apply traditional finance methods to digital assets. Amber Data eliminates the infrastructure setup, integration challenges, and maintenance headaches to access digital asset data, reducing cost and time to market to enter the digital asset class. Learn more and download their digital asset data guide at www.amberdata.io. Now it's time to dive into the exploding world of crypto derivatives. It's time for the Crypto Rundown.
All right, everybody. That music means we are back once again, coming at you on Monday for a little bit of the old Crypto Rundown, the program here on the network where we go above and beyond what we normally talk about here on the network. We look farther afield, see what's lighting up the tape out there in the world of crypto derivatives. My name, of course, Mark Longo from the TAG. OptionsInsider.com, as well as from the network upon which so many of you folks are binging these days. Hope you had a great weekend. Hope you're ready and raring to go for a fun trading week. Remember, if you're just listening to crypto, I know there's a lot of you coming from the crypto side, just tune into this. I get it. But if you're curious at all about the world of options and derivatives, volatility, you like that concept, you like to see what's trading, like unusual activity, a lot of this overlaps with crypto at the end of the day, whether it's names like Coinbase or Mara or Bitto and others that are just lighting up the tape that are obviously very crypto driven, or concepts like volatility. Maybe you want a little bit of education, Options Bootcamp, Options Playbook Radio, all great things you should be checking out. So wherever you're listening to this, including a growing number of you coming in via the old tubes, make sure you're listening A, to the full network, and then B, head on over to the pro, theoptionsinsider.com/pro. We've had quite a few pro Q&As dovetail into the world of crypto, including quite a few questions going after our buddy Mr. Scott Nations on the pro Q&A last week. You folks love throwing crypto questions at him. So all sorts of fun on the pro, options oddities every week, and usually some crypto overlay there, as well as some name is lighting up the tape. And chances are maybe it's driven by a little bit of action in the crypto space. All sorts of fun. Live streams, giveaways, early access to content, theoptionsinsider.com/pro. Just the Facts, ma'am, edition out there today, listeners, as we dive right on into the Bitcoin breakdown.
It's time to explore the latest trending activity, trends, and developments across the world's leading crypto market. It's time for the Bitcoin Breakdown.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Bitcoin Breakdown, the portion of the show we break down the action in the world's leading digital asset. Yup, the big dog, which is Bitcoin, looking a heck of a lot bigger this week than it was last week. Last week, we were hanging out around 62K, a little bit shy of 63, 62,879 to be precise. We had dipped and threatened down to that 60K level intra-week, of course, last week. Coming in now to start of the show this week, things are looking a wee bit more robust out there, listeners, as we're seeing Bitcoin 68,700. That's pretty much the high for the week out there as well right now. So quite the run, quite the rampage for a lot of assets. It does seem like that CPI number coming in weaker than expected last week was just kind of the trigger for a lot of asset classes, crypto included. Who says crypto isn't correlated to the other major asset classes out there? Spoiler alert, it is, listeners. It is heavily correlated. And we are seeing a lot of upside out there this week. Again, you're talking almost 6,000 handles to the upside. 5,821 to be precise. Don't see a lot of moves like that out there in many asset classes. So a banger week out there for Bitcoin. The low was pretty much right after our show last week, 61,531. So if you go from that low, we've obviously rallied even more. So it's been quite the impressive move on the heels of that CPI number out there. What's that mean from a vol perspective? Let's go find out, listeners. Let's start near dated, shall we, and work our way out. A 7-day vol, so the weekly vol. And again, you could take issue with that being vol. Is it really gamma, that close? All sorts of considerations when you get that near dated. Either way, that vol not really moving, even though we did see a big move in the underlying this week, which is kind of interesting. 51 on the show last week, 7-day vol coming in to start the show today. Exactly 51 again. So no real evolution on that front. Just enough juice, just enough movement to keep these levels for the week, which is kind of interesting. Let's go out a little bit farther. Let's go out to a more standardized number, 30 days. That was at a 53.5 on our show last week, which is starting to get a little bit on the low side, at least in the near-dated run for Bitcoin. Obviously, we have gotten lower. We got into the 20s. But for what we're seeing vol in the near-dated form, that's not that high. Also worth noting, we are heading into that summer period where things sometimes tend to languish, obviously last week notwithstanding. So interesting stuff to be keeping an eye on the vol front there. And coming in to start the show this week, 55.85, so rallying about 2 1/3 points on the week. So enough action out there this week to keep vol from falling, of course, and also rallying a wee bit. And that's interesting too, because we did move to the upside, and that's usually where the skew is biased in Bitcoin. So you should see vol ticking up a little bit, and that is pretty much what we saw out there this week, but not maybe the explosive upside move some of you might have been hoping for. Let's go out a little bit farther. Let's go out 180 days. And you know what? Again, Bitcoin is a product that's always full of mysteries, including here. We were looking at near dated vol, kind of treading water, a little bit longer term vol, 1 month, getting a little bit of a pop. We go out 6 months though. That's where the action is. That's where the magic is happening, listeners. 61 1/4 on our show last week, so it was already frothier. 66.8 coming in this week, so popping over 5.5 points out there on the 6-month vol. So interesting, this aggressive move this week, kind of setting the tone for longer term vol even more than what we're seeing in the near data stuff, which is kind of fascinating. Let's go out to the skew. Let's see what's going on out there, listeners. Last week we were slightly negative, -1 on the 7-day skew. Again, we had dipped to the lower end of the 60K range, and we may be threatening 60K at one point, so makes some sense. We were slightly biased towards the bearish. Coming in to start the show today, positive 2.5. We have swung in the other direction. Not explosive again, but enough to turn the tables a little bit out there. I'm sure if we pulled that number up from earlier in the week, it would have been a little bit more biased to the upside. Let's go out a month. That was pretty much flat a week ago, kind of treading water. Markets really didn't know where we were headed. Coming in to start the show today, nearly a positive 5, 4 3/4. That's a pretty big move to the upside. Again, skew showing us there is some bias to the upside, which is to be expected. Let's go out 6 months. So do you have as aggressive of a skew evolution out there? I mean, it's not that usual we see an aggressive skew move that far out. Let's see if this week can make some surprises for all of us out here. And it looks like the answer is kind of yes. Last week, 390 to the upside, so a little bit of slight positive bias out there. Going out 6 months, positive 6.15. So decent little pop, over 2 points, about 2.25 points on the week. So again, for 6 months skew, that is nothing to sneeze at. So again, seems like what we saw in the markets last week definitely boosting the bullish case out there for crypto folks and Bitcoin in particular. Did that carry over in some of the other assets you like to use to trade crypto in your options accounts? Listeners, let's find out. Let's go out to BITO first. And yeah, the answer is yes out there. 27.8 to kick off the show, listeners, in BITO. That's up to almost 2.5 points, about 240 on the week. The ADV, 95,000. So it's continuing to come down, which is kind of interesting, down about 4,000 on the week, but still obviously far above where it was 6-8 months ago, was hanging out 10, 15, maybe 20,000 contracts a day. So clearly post ETF approval, even though we don't have the options out there, post ETF approval, it has given new life to products like BITO. Today, putting up 75,000 contracts already. That was when we kicked off the show. I wonder if we pull it up right now, listeners, if that number will have improved at all. 86,000 contracts now. So it seems like we definitely are on pace, with about an hour to go in the session, are on pace to at least hit that ADV today, if not exceed it. Vol also popping out there at about a 61. It puts it up about 6 points on the week. So things looking a little frothier out there. What isn't looking different is the top 5 positions in BITO options right now. It's still the Jan 30s with 108,000 of those, and 72,000 for number 2 of the Jan 35s. And then 57,000 for number 3 of the Jan 25s. That's pretty much been the case for many months now. If you're wondering what's lighting it up out there today, it's actually puts. It's May 27 puts going up 6,670 times today, opening. That's interesting. So pretty much at the money put going up. Looks like paper selling those on the bid for 89 cents. Interesting. A big block of 1,000 going up for that price. Other prices, 62, 63 cents. So I traded a variety of prices throughout the day. Seems like mostly on the bids. The paper has been crushing those. So selling puts that expire in a little over a week for prices from about 63 to about 89 cents. I guess that means they really want to buy some BITO at around these levels, listeners. If you dip below 27, they will be buying those at expiration. So kind of interesting. You like those? You like selling those, listeners? Somebody did out there today. Well, let's keep rolling out to a product that's lighting up the tape out there. Again, it is Mara. 22 3/4 when we kicked off the show, up 565 since last week. I told you last week, this thing is just... If you're looking for volatility, this is, and a little bit of liquidity, this stuff puts up some paper, then you could do worse than looking at Mara. And that is the case again today. 404,000 contracts on the tape already. That's against an ADV of a little north of 250,000, 253. That's up 9,000. I got a feeling after today's numbers, it's going to be popping even more out there. So Mara popping hard and bringing the numbers to back it up. The vol back north of triple digits, 106%. That's up a whopping 17 points on the week. Again, if you're looking for a little bit of vol, you're looking for a little bit of action, you want to play fast and loose, close to the fire with a hot name, you could do worse than Mara out there. And again, it has liquidity too, which is nice. It's not just putting up 300 contracts a day. There's tons of names out there that have crazy vol and no volume to back it up. You get both here. So if you're looking for a little bit of action, you're bored with a VIX at a 12 handle, you want to, let's say, triple digit vol level, you don't want to sleep much at night, then here you go. Mara is the place to check out. Let's see what folks are up to in this 404,000 contracts, shall we? We got about 18,000 of the May 22s going up today. Pretty much all of that opening against about 18,000 of the May 20s. So maybe we got a bit of a vertical going up out there today. No, it looks like they're just going up straight up. So folks probably, if passes prologue, buying the 20s, which those are looking pretty good right now, and also buying the 22s. So those are also about $0.75 in the money right now. They expire this week, listeners, so they need a banger day, and they're getting one so far. So my goodness. Up nearly $6 on the week, $3 just today. So these calls are looking 21s also opening for, it's just all a call palooza out here, as you would expect. My goodness. Mara delivering on the vol and the volume front. What's the big dog position out here? It is still, surprisingly enough, with all this paper, it is still the June 30s, 33,000 of those leading the dance out here today. Interesting. That's been the number one position for a while. You think of all this volume, something would usurp it, but apparently not. Number 2, we have the June 50. So 25,000 of those. So 30 is not doing it for you. These 30s looked ridiculous a week and change ago, and now here they are. Still pretty far out of the money, but a lot more relevant, shall we say, than they were a week ago. So, man, Mara just all over the place over the course of the past week. Looking at a chart of this thing over the past 6 months, it has just been nuts. 1064 back in November, all the way up to $31 in December, back down to $15 in January, back up to 31 again in February, back down to 14 in April, and now apparently on its next leg up. Back up to 30, above, below, who knows, but quite the rampage. Let's see if the rest of the altcoin universe can keep up.
It's time to move beyond Bitcoin and find out what's moving the rest of the crypto marketplace. It's time to boldly venture into the altcoin universe.
All right, everybody, welcome to the altcoin universe, the portion of the show where we go a little bit beyond the big dog, which is Bitcoin, except for right now, when we're going to talk about market cap. This has been a fun conversation the last few months as well, just watching the battling that's going on, especially in the bottom half of the top 10. It's been a fascinating evolution to watch. Let's see what's going on this week, listeners. Cost you $16.75 billion to break into the top 10 this week, if you're curious. That gets you to our old friend Cardano, still holding out at the number 10 spot. Number 9, Doge. It got kicked from its perch at number 8. It looks like it's still clinging to number 9 this week. $22.1 billion worth of market cap for Doge. Number 8, it's Toncoin, the old Ton. $22.5 billion. So not that much wiggle room separating Doge and Ton. That's where a lot of the battle is going on right now. Which side of the fence are you on, listeners? Are you all Ton? Are you all Doge? You think it's all ridiculous? Hit us up, let us know. Number 7, it's XRP, 28, almost 29 billion. And then number 6, it's USD Coin, 33.3 billion. Number 5, our old friend Solana, 80.8 billion. Number 4, BNB, 85.4 billion. Number 3, it's Tether, because of course it is, 111.5 billion worth of market cap for good old Tether, listeners. Number 2, it's ETH, 378.3 billion, and the number 1, the big dog, it's BTC, 1.3 trillion worth of market cap out there, listeners. Let's get out to number 2 on the market cap list. Number 1 in a lot of your hearts, it is our old friend ETH. Looking a little bit more robust this week than last week. Not quite perhaps the monstrous upside move that we saw in Bitcoin, but impressive nonetheless. On the show last week, 29.46, coming in and start the show today, 31.48, so up a whopping 202 handles on the week. That's a pretty good move for ETH. The high pretty much right now as we're holding court on the show. The low came after our show last week on Tuesday, 2,879 to the dark side. So again, back below the 3K level out there. Vol-wise, let's see what's cooking out there. Let's go, as we like to do, 7-day and then work our way out, listeners. On the 7-day vol front, last week we're at a 59 coming in and start the show. This week, 62. So looking a little bit frothier, a little bit juicier on the weekly vol. Let's go out a month. It was a 60 even on the show last week, 61.5. This week, let's go out a full 6 months, 65 on the show last week, 70.3. So popping over 5 points out there. So longer term vol and Skew has been an intriguing place to watch this week. That's not always the case. So that makes it kind of fun. Let's go out on the Skew front and see what's cooking on the ETH side of the fence. Last week we were looking bearish. Again, we had dipped below 3K. We were threatening it. Understandable that the Skew would be biased to the dark side. It was about 3 1/3 to the dark side last week. This week, swinging almost to a full positive 1.9 to be precise. So a decent little swing to the upside here on the Skew front. Still mostly flat, but definitely an evolution from the bearish sentiment of last week. Going out a month, it was -2 on the show last week. This week, almost a +5, a +4.88 to be precise. So that's a pretty decent move. Gaining over 6, nearly 7 points to the upside out there on the 30-day Skew. And let us not forget, 6-month Skew. Last week, it was a 3 exactly coming in and start the show. This week, 6.4. So gaining almost 3.5 points out there on the long-term Skew. Again, I have to go back a ways to find another week where we saw this much evolution on the longer-term front for ETH and Bitcoin. Again, maybe showing that what we saw last week is changing some people's longer term outlook. Are you feeling all this optimism, this bullish upside, listeners? I don't know. Hit us up. Let us know if you are intrigued by all this. If you're feeling the love or if you think these people are crazy. Speaking of crazy, you either love it or you hate it. It's Solana. People love it this week. Last week, 147 and about a third. Coming in and started the show today, 179.71. Up 32.4 points on the week. 32.39 to be precise. My goodness, quite the rampage out there this week, listening. Did you buy some of that Solana on the dip, listeners? Have you washed your hands of this madness? It has been fun to watch out here. Let's see if we can get a little bit more meat on the bone so we can crunch some more numbers out here. We are starting to see more OI percolate out there on Deribit, which helps us crunch some more numbers on it so we can actually get a 30-day vol number out there now. That was a little challenging not that long ago. Well, let's start on the weekly, though, and work our way out. Last week, we've been able to crunch a 7-day vol in Solana for a while. It was about a 91 on the show last week, 90 and 3/4. This week, 91. So not much evolution on the 7-day vol. A 30-day vol, it was a 92.3. That's down a ways. We weren't really talking about 30-day vol on the show last week, the last couple of weeks. You got to go back really a few weeks for the last time we had a good solid number for that, and that was 117. So obviously that's come in quite a bit over the last month or so, but still obviously very frothy. 92. You'd be hard-pressed to find a lot of major asset classes trading at a 90-plus vol level out there. Let's go out on the Skew front. Last week, 7-day Skew, negative 3.5. Swinging pretty much exactly in the opposite direction now, almost a positive 3.5, about 3 1/3 right now. So pretty big vol and indeed Skew move out there this week. Let's see if that's reflected on the 1-month Skew as well. The answer is yes. 6 3/4. Again, that's 30-day Skew. That's going back a few weeks now. If we look at it this week, it's about 12 1/4. So that has moved quite a bit over the past few weeks. But again, we've had a huge explosive upside in Solana. So that is not entirely surprising. Let's see if some other names can follow suit. And the answer, at least on XRP, unfortunately, is pretty much no again. It was 50.5 cents on the show last week. 52 1/4 this week. So it is moving to the upside, but it's not the move the XRP holders are looking for. Dogecoin, 14.8 cents last week, 15.3 cents this week. So that's how Doge is able to cling to its number 9 spot. Litecoin, 80.8 cents last week, 83.9 cents. This week's up a little over 3 handles on the week. Cardano, 44 cents last week, 47 cents this week, up a whopping 3 cents. Polkadot, 668 last week, 715 this week, up about 47 cents. And everybody's favorite, Shiba, a million zeros, 2.3 last week. This week, a whopping 2.4, but not enough to initiate the era of the Shiba Lambos that I know all of you folks are hoping for. Now you're looking for a little bit of Shiba Lambos. Unfortunately, not this week, but you know what? We have a little bit of time to pay off some of your crypto questions.
You've got questions about crypto. Who doesn't? It's time to find out the answers to your crypto questions.
All right, listeners, time to pay off our question of the week from last week. Last week, we asked you a very relevant question to listeners of this show. One you folks have been asking us for a while. One we put to a lot of the people down there at the Options Industry Conference a few weeks ago. You'll be hearing more of those hitting the network pretty soon. We asked you folks, quite simply, do you think that the options on the Bitcoin ETFs, there's a lot of them, 11 last I checked, on the Bitcoin ETFs, will they be approved this year? Just saying, are we going to get options on any of those this year? Very simple. Yes or no. It was contentious, a lot of back and forth. At the end of the day, though, you folks came down on the negative side, 56.5%, saying no, we will not see options on these this year. 43.5% saying yes. Unfortunately, given all the conversations I had down at the OIC conference, I kind of have to lean towards the no myself, which is a sad thing to say. I kind of thought we had moved past this. The notion that you could approve an underlying and then not approve people to buy puts or calls on said underlying, it's kind of ridiculous. But that's where we are. It seems like the SEC very skittish on the prospect of approving options on these ETFs. From the people I talked to, it sounds like it's not even a question of when, but even if they will approve these, which is absurd to think about and indeed to say out loud. We have evolved in the options world. It used to take a few weeks to maybe a month or two. You have a hot IPO, a hot new listing, to list the options on it till all the requirements are met and people can trade options on those. These days, given how hot options are, that process has been streamlined to about 2 days. So we could have had options on all of these ETFs, or at least the leading ones, 2 days after the ETFs were approved. Here we are, 4+ months, and nothing on the horizon either, listeners. Unfortunately, I wish I could be here giving you some more optimistic, upbeat news, the bearer of glad tidings. Unfortunately, that is not the case. You folks are bearish on the prospects for these, and unfortunately, I have to agree. It doesn't seem like we're going to be seeing these this year. Kind of a sad note to end the show on this week. I got another one for you. If that's not enough, no show next week. Of course, we will be off for the Memorial Day holiday here in the U.S. For all of our international listeners, for all of our listeners, I apologize. Don't blame me. Blame the markets. Crypto does seem to be impacted the most by these holidays because they usually line up on a Monday. That's just the way the calendar rolls, listeners. In the meantime, though, if you want to check out more content, we will be active throughout the rest of this week, and indeed we'll have our regular schedule next week as well, with the exception, unfortunately, of the Crypto Rundown. You can still get all of our pro content, including pro Q&As and options oddities. Check out theoptionsinsider.com/pro. If you want a little bit of options boot camp, options playbook radio, it's all there for you as well. Volatility views, this week in futures options, the advisor's option, all sorts of stuff coming at you here on the networks. Make sure you're listening to the full network. If you want to go above and beyond, check out the pro, and we'll see you back here in 2 weeks. Another episode of the Crypto Rundown. Stay safe out there, everybody.
The Crypto Rundown is brought to you by Amber Data. If you're entering the digital asset class, you'll need access to granular on-chain and market data from multiple venues to power research, trading, risk management, and compliance. Amber Data delivers comprehensive data and insights into blockchain networks, crypto markets, and decentralized finance, empowering financial institutions to apply traditional finance methods to digital assets. Amber Data eliminates the infrastructure setup, integration challenges, and maintenance headaches to access digital asset data, reducing cost and time to market to enter the digital asset class. Learn more and download their digital asset data guide at www.amberdata.io. You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.